My name is Matthew Ordish. I'm the Chief Architect for our mission critical workloads as part of Azure Core Engineering. We're a specialist engineering team as part of that, really responsible for the core development and specifically around mission critical SAP on Azure. We're responsible for the hardware design, the software that runs on that, the certification around that platform.
All right, so probably people are interested in what Microsoft and SUSE have been doing together around Azure.
So you can imagine when we released Azure, there was a heavy bias on Windows in terms of where it came from. Some of you here may remember Steve Ballmer's position on open source and some of the things that he said around that, not particularly complimentary. But we soon realized that Linux and open source was going to play a key role in delivering this. And in fact, if we look at back at 2018, I think we shared that we were at 50% of VMs were running Linux, and today over 65% of VMs running that are actually on Linux today. And that is a large part of our relationship we've had with SUSE, really helping us create that trusted platform for running a Linux enterprise, to be able to run S/4HANA, to run the database. And in fact, we chose SUSE to be the operating system on our first program around S4 for the database. So, we've lived that. We're now actually implementing that internally.
In terms of those co-innovations that we were working on together, can you give me some examples how that maybe some of the things we did together and how that benefited customers?
Yeah, so Microsoft required to gain knowledge about how Linux. It wasn't the first thing we were there, so SUSE has been part of that journey with us in terms of building those teams, building that knowledge about how that we actually do that. That has allowed us to kind of work together on that focus internally. On basically building that collaboration has allowed us to do stuff directly internally, do stuff directly with our customers like yourselves, as well as working directly with SAP in Germany about how they run SAP on Azure, on SUSE, on RISE.
Do you want to talk a bit about how it's benefited customers?
Yes. So some of the key elements that we're actually doing is this. I'm going to talk about kind of three things that we have here. So there's Azure Monitor for SAP. Solutions. So this is the work that we did to look at the telemetry, look at the monitoring, and actually visualize that within Azure so you can be able to see that. The second and one of the most important parts is obviously the HA and DR work that we do together. How do we make sure that we're working on this, so the pacemaker work, the clustering work as a co-development? And one of the areas you've heard before is this thing that we refer to as SDAF. Which is the SAP Deployment Automation Framework. This allows us to consistently deploy the SAP systems, put down the infrastructure, essentially infrastructure as code, install the operating systems, install SAP on top of that. And a great example of bringing those things together is a joint customer that we have, Kona. I've worked with Kona now actually personally for over 8 years, so it's a fantastic relationship that we've had jointly on that. And this really allowed them to be able to build out the infrastructure and allow them to focus on their business transformation. So this, I hope, demonstrates some of the key areas of jointly running some of the largest mission-critical workloads in the world on Azure and on SUSE.
You told me over coffee that the largest VM in the world is running SUSE. Is that really true?
That is true, and again, telling Rick a confidential secret is a key thing to its relationship. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. So we've actually got a 24 terabyte machine that has been out for a while, and that is most of those are running SUSE. It's the largest in the world, and we actually at the end of last year released a 32 terabyte machine. And to give you a little bit of context of the size and scale of this is a 16 socket machine. 896 cores in non-hyper-threaded, 776 when it's hyper-threaded. Again, one of the largest in the world. And so you can be confident in that. And we engineer with SUSE, with SAP, about how we run these extraordinarily large workloads. And we'll continue to work on that design capabilities together. How do we implement the joint support to make sure you have mission critical, to make sure that you are successful as customers for both SAP and our other workloads.
What an amazing story.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.